What's up guys, it's Gone, and today we'll be looking at my top 25 players that are under the age of 25 going into the 2022 MLB season. Within every new year, people look at the potential hopefuls in that year, and in baseball, those prominent breakout stars tend to come from the younger generation of players more often than not. In this list, I will have a blend of minor leaguers and major leaguers alike, and you'll see a mix of prospects along with first and second year players. For young players, I believe that potential production in the future is more valuable than current production, so even if a player might have a worse major or minor league background, they could still be better suited for making a stronger contribution in the future, which in my opinion matters more. My criteria for making this list is based on how old they are come opening day, which barring a major setback should come around early April. So a guy like Kyle Tucker, who will turn 25 on January 17th, is not going to make this list, which is a shame because he would be pretty high. Before we get onto this video, could you guys please hit the subscribe button? Currently only 6% of people who watch my videos are subscribed, so if y'all do, not only would it help me grow my channel, but I'd also very much appreciate it. And without further ado, let's get onto the video. Coming in at number 25 is Dodgers right-handed pitcher Dustin May, and in the 2021 MLB season, Dustin 23 innings, going 1-1 with a 2.74 ERA before going down with Tommy John surgery. With his very low sample size in the major leagues, his value comes from his potential, and as a former top 100 prospect, his potential is there. While he does have a cutter, curveball, and changeup that are all great secondary pitches and can all get outs, his best pitch comes from his two-seam fastball, which has both running sink and sits in the high 90s. He was just able to find the ability to miss bats in the major leagues and was able to make some hitters look silly before going down with Tommy John surgery. If he's able to stay healthy in the 2022 season, he could easily be the Dodgers' second best pitcher behind Walker Buehler, and if not the third best pitcher. And either way is a staple in the Dodgers' league best rotation and should be one of the main reasons why the Dodgers can make a World Series run in 2022. Up next is our first prospect on Noel V. Marte. While still young at only 20 years old, he had a breakout season slugging .451 and hitting 17 home runs while also stealing 24 bags and just under 450 at-bats. Marte was already signed as being one of the best international prospects in the game in 2018, so making this jump at such a young age is very encouraging to see. Marte has the potential to be a five-tool player if he is able to get rid of some of the errors that he made mostly in early season play. He was a much better fielder later on in the season, but still, it's his bat that carries him, and he's already drawing comparisons to Hanley Ramirez at such a young age. Obviously, he's a prospect that has never had any major league experience, so it's his potential alone that carries him on this list. At 23, we have White Sox DH Andrew Vaughn, who made his rookie debut this year at only 22 years old. Drafted in the first round of the 2019 MLB Draft as one of the most polished hitters coming out of college, he certainly lived up to that hype by making the majors in only his second professional season, and while he didn't have the best play, hitting .235 with 15 home runs in 479 at-bats, he was a mainstay in the White Sox powerful lineup and definitely held his own against major league pitching. Overall, with a year under his belt, you can expect Andrew Vaughn to make that jump in almost all categories as he begins to figure out what pitchers are doing to challenge him with. Vaughn might not have the highest ceiling on this list due to a lack of fielding and speed, but he's certainly a great hitter and that alone deserves to be on this list. I don't think a lot of casual baseball fans know this, but Casey Mize had a really good year down in Detroit, and he really was one of the main pieces of why Detroit performed better than expectations this year. This year, in 30 starts, he posted a 3.73 ERA and 118 strikeouts in 130 innings. What played him last year was his walks, as he did have 4.1 walks per 9 innings last year, and he cut that down to 2.5 this year, which is one of the main reasons why his ERA dropped almost 3 runs. Obviously, as a former number 1 overall pick, he is oozing with potential and should only go up from here and soon make his way to the top of the Tigers' pitching rotation, on his way to being one of the best pitchers in the game thanks to his sinker. One of the most hyped debuts this year was Jarred Kelenic, and while he was also one of the most disappointing players in 2021, only hitting .181 with 14 home runs and 337 at-bats, all pointing to a negative 1.8 baseball reference WAR, I still believe that Jarred Kelenic could still be a really good player, as he has a compact swing that generates enough power to give you 20 to 25 home runs a year, as long as he cuts down on the strikeouts. He's also athletic enough to steal around 20 bases a year, and while he did play center fielder for the Mariners this year, I think he should move to right field with Julio Rodriguez coming up, and he has a cannon of an arm, so it suits him better there. He has about 330 plate appearances against major league pitchers, so I think he can make the jump. As he looks at the film in the offseason and makes adjustments during spring training, I think he could cut down on those strikeouts as he fixes those holes in his swing and be a mainstay in Seattle's intriguing 2022 hitting lineup. Jazz Chisholm this year was one of the most exciting young players in all of baseball, and you can expect him to put up more of the same in 2022, as in 2021 he hit .248 with 18 home runs and 464 at-bats, along with stealing 23 bases and driving in 53 runs. He has a smooth left-handed swing that generates easy contact and sometimes power, especially against higher velocity. And he's also a great fielder at second base, which is where the Marlins plan to play him with Rojas at shortstop. He makes some highlight-worthy plays at second base in which you can truly see his athleticism. He made a huge jump from 2020 to 2021, watching his OPS Plus rise 45 points. So if he can make some sort of jump like that again next year, he should see himself be a quality major leaguer. However, his current lack of major league production is what's hampering his stock right now, but his potential is what's keeping him in right now. Coming in at number 19 is one of the most exciting young players on the Braves and right-handed pitcher Ian Anderson, and in his second year it was more of the same, pitching to an ERA of 3.58 in 24 games started, along with a 9-6 record and 2.7 baseball reference WAR. Ian Anderson was also able to get 5 scoreless innings in the World Series against Houston on the biggest stage, and he was one of the Braves' critical postseason pieces. Anderson has a fastball which sits in the mid to high 90s, with his main out pitch being a nasty 12-6 curve that sits in the low 80s. Overall, Anderson has shown to be consistent in his 2 years of play as a quality major leaguer that will consistently give you quality starts and shine when the light is brightest. Dylan Carlson had an underrated rookie year, posting productive numbers as one of the Cardinals' middle-of-the-order bats. In just under 550 at-bats in the majors, he hit .266 with 18 home runs and an OPS plus of 117. Carlson was already one of the best prospects in the game, as he was one of 10 minor leaguers to record at least 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases, and the first season in the minors to do it in the Cardinals organization since 2006. So it was already assumed that he was going to be this good, and it can be assumed that he can make a jump like this in the majors, as he was known for being one of the smartest hitters in the game. He should make adjustments this offseason and fix any holes that he might have. His one problem was his strikeouts, and he should cut that down. Sixto Sanchez didn't pitch a single inning in the major leagues this year due to a litany of injuries, but his stellar performance in 2020, along with his sheer stuff, puts him on this list. In 2020, Sixto posted an 3.46 ERA and 33 strikeouts in 39 innings, while showing that he can hold his own against some of the best lineups in the NL Central. Sixto has one of the best fastballs in the minors, ranging from 96 to 99, with powerful sink and a four-seam version that can touch triple digits. Hitters often look unbalanced against him. He also has a slider and changeup, all with elite control over them. He pounds the strike zone and doesn't walk many batters, which is an elite combination to have as a young pitcher that usually just rely on athleticism. Despite having his rookie status expiring in 2020, Gavin Lux basically had his first full season in the majors in 2021, and like many other young players, he had his struggles, but at the time, he also showed his upside, and he still held his own most of the time. He posted a .242 batting average with 7 home runs and 4 stolen bases in a season where he had multiple stints on the IL. Most encouraging is that he was able to find everyday playing time on a stacked Dodgers lineup when healthy, which is a good reflection of his talent and work ethic. As a former top 25 prospect in the game, Lux has a good blend of high potential along with on-field performance, but his injury history does hold him back from showing his true potential. In at number 15 is Mize, along with MLB Pipeline's best pitching prospect in the game in Grayson Rodriguez. Ever since he was drafted with the 11th overall pick in the 2018 MLB draft, all he's done so far is produce. In his worst season was in 2019, in which he posted a 2.68 ERA and struck out over 4 times the amount of hitters he's walked. He also held opponents to a 171 batting average. This year, he's been even better, posting some elite strikeout numbers, over 6 times the amount of strikeouts compared to walks, while holding opponents to a 153 batting average. His pitches all look like they will translate to the majors very well, with the fastball with some elite spin rates that can touch 99 being his main pitch, with the occasional out pitches in his changeup, which sits in the low 80s, and his curveball, which he occasionally mixes in that sits in the 70s to 80 range. He's a large guy at 6'5" and uses that large frame to generate that consistent velocity on his pitches while not overexerting himself. Alek Manoa made his major league debut this season and was dominant, pitching to a 9-2 record and a 3.22 ERA in 20 starts, along with being one of the Blue Jays' most solid starters. He also had 127 strikeouts and 111 innings pitched, which is a good sign for Blue Jays fans. He has a fastball that sits in the high 90s and a slider that, when he's on, is almost unhittable at times. He also has a solid changeup as a good try pitch, but doesn't lean on it much, and he has a very large frame at 6'6", 260 pounds, and uses that frame to generate easy velocity and a repeatable delivery. Due to that, I believe that Alex should be able to repeat the same numbers in 2022, and he can also make a jump as he finds where his hitters have been attacking him and what has led to his high home run rate. The former number 1 overall pick in Spencer Torkelson is next, and he should be ready to contribute to the major leagues within the next season. Torkelson, by all accounts, didn't have the best minor league season, striking out over 110 times, with a batting average of only .267, but even with a season of what he would call subpar play, he still slugged over .550 and hit 30 home runs in Double and Triple-A. He's on the cusp of making the majors, and when he does, he should be one of the premier power hitters in the game as a first/third baseman. Trevor Rogers is one of the pleasant surprises in 2021 and is really the ace to the underrated young Marlins pitching staff. He had a breakout 2021 season, including being named to his first NL All-Star team, along with being named second in Rookie of the Year behind Jonathan India. His credentials to back that up: only a 2.64 ERA and 157 strikeouts in 133 innings pitched. Unlike many of other young starting pitchers, Rogers doesn't overly rely on one particular pitch, but instead uses his pinpoint accuracy along with smart decision making to make his hitters look off-balanced, which led to many strikeouts. Oh my goodness, did BobbyWhit Jr. have a great minor league season. He slugged .597, and that is mostly due to his amazing 33 home runs, which is almost unheard of from a player like his age. He was originally put in Double-A to begin the season, but played so well that he was promoted to Triple-A midseason, and all that as a 21-year-old playing against competition that is usually 3 to 4 years his senior. He's an athletic runner and stole 24 bases across the minor league season to boot, and he could have had a historic 30-30 season in the minor leagues if he was just unleashed more on the base paths. Defensively, he is passable if not great at shortstop due to his range and arm strength, and has those quick hands that many scouts look for when looking for a gold glover. He ended up proving that his advanced approach at the plate this year and should play for the major league team this year. Back-to-back prospects and going into the top 10 now with Adley Rutsman. The switch-hitting catcher was the number 1 overall pick in the 2019 MLB draft after he hit over 400 with 17 home runs, including 17 hits in the College Baseball World Series that year. Adley has some plus hitting potential and is the most highly rated catcher, being ranked number 1 overall by MLB Pipeline since Joe Mauer. His value at catcher as well is a near lock to be an above average hitter and fielder from behind the plate despite never playing a game in the majors, and that makes him one of the best young players in the game already. It's really a shame that Luis Robert got hurt mid-season because he was really having a great year up to that point. He was on pace to have an all-star season, along with a possible chance of winning MVP if everything were to break right. He did hit .338 with 13 home runs and 6 stolen bases, along with being an elite defender and center field. He had an OPS plus of 155 and had 3.6 WAR in about half of a season. At only 24 years old, you can expect this to be somewhat of the ceiling for his potential, but that's not bad, especially when he's a good defender as well. And you can also expect him to walk more as he sees more pitches as he plays against more major leaguers. Even though MLB Pipeline sees this guy as the number 2 overall prospect behind Adley Rutsman, I believe that Julio Rodriguez has the highest potential out of all prospects in the game, and he makes it into my top 10. Scouts see big 30-30 potential in Julio and believe that he can be the next Ronald Coronado Jr. During the 2021 season, Julio played both right and center field in the minors, and while he can handle center field, he doesn't have the elite speed that is suited for an elite center fielder and should be a better corner outfielder due to his plus arm. Scouts say that Rodriguez brings passion and joy to the game and just loves to play it in general, meaning that he will become one of the most beloved players once he reaches the MLB in his 2022 MLB season. A lot like Acuna as well. Austin Riley barely makes this list as a guy who turns 25 on April 2nd, so I'm just gonna go count him, whatever, it's my list. Riley, before getting called up, was one of the premier prospects in the Braves' stacked farm system, and his first 2 years were subpar to say the least. He was below replacement level in 2019 and 2020, but he definitely stepped up in a big way in 2021 and was one of the main reasons why the Braves win the World Series. This year, he won the NL Silver Slugger and finished 7th in NL MVP voting, hitting .303 with 33 home runs and 107 RBIs. If Riley can prove that he can sustain that level of elite play, he can easily move into the top 5, but right now he stays at 6. Like Austin Riley, Bo Bichette was a highly rated prospect that decided that his third year would be his best, finishing with MVP votes. Unlike Austin Riley, Bo Bichette has been consistent in his play, especially on the hitting side, but it took another level in his first season of Major League play. This year, he hit .298 with 29 home runs and 102 RBIs, and was one of the Blue Jays' stars this year along with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He's been wildly consistent throughout his young career as a guy who will hit for power and steal some bases, with a batting average that will hover around 300. As a shortstop with good but not great fielding, that's really all you could ask for with the modern day shortstop. On to the top 5 now, starting with Ronald Acuna Jr. And like Luis Robert, it's a shame that he got hurt, as he probably would finish top 3 on this list, and there would be visibly no holes in his game. When healthy, he's one of the best right fielders in the game, and he can also hit for power and steal bases. Like Bo Bichette, he's wildly consistent throughout his entire career, and it's a good indicator of his floor and ceiling. Before getting hurt, he hit .283 with 24 home runs and was firmly in the MVP race as one of MLB's brightest young stars. It will be interesting to see when Ronald gets back to see if he still has his step. In at number 4 is Fernando Tatis Jr., and although he did have a couple of stints on the IR with shoulder issues, he was wildly productive, hitting 42 home runs and he stole 27 bases. His batting average was .282 and he owned an OPS plus of 166. While he wasn't the greatest out at shortstop defensively, he was definitely passable and he has the ability to make good plays at times. Overall, I think we've seen this guy's ceiling as an MVP candidate and all-star in and out, and he will be one of the MLB's greatest young stars for a long time to come. Well, not young, but stars. Up next at number 3 is Wander Franco, and I know. How could I put him ahead of Tatis when he really hasn't done anything yet? Well, for starters, Wander was the better prospect as he's been the number 1 overall prospect for years now, consensusly. And number 2, I don't think we've seen the ceiling for Franco. Usually, the typical rookie curve is that they struggle a little bit in year 1, look overmatched at times, and then make that gigantic leap in year 2 or 3. We've seen that with guys like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Tatis, where they look a little overmatched at times strictly due to their lack of experience. Well, Wander just forgot to struggle in his rookie year, already looking like the Rays' face of the franchise in year 1. If he can make that jump that many rookies do in their second year, he may be number 1 on this list as he becomes the face of all of baseball. Number 2 is one of those aforementioned players in Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Finally, he had his breakout year and would have won MVP this year if it wasn't for a historic season by Shohei Ohtani. He was otherworldly this year, hitting .311 with an on-base percentage of .401 while also hitting 48 home runs. While his fielding at first and third base was questionable, it doesn't matter when you put up those numbers. This might not even be Vlad's ceiling too, as he hits almost half of his balls still on the ground, so if we see his fly ball / line drive ratio tick upwards even a little bit, we could see possibly 50 to 60 home runs within the next few years due to his elite average exit velocity. Lastly, at number 1, we have Juan Soto, and I'm surprised he still qualifies for this list, not only because he's already been in the league for 3 full Major League seasons, but also because his game mimics that of a 30-year-old veteran. This year was more of the same for Soto, hitting .313 with 29 home runs and an OPS plus of 175, making him one of the best hitters in the majors. He placed second in MVP voting, along with winning a Silver Slugger, and in my opinion, if the Nationals weren't so terrible this year, he would have easily ran away with the MVP. He also stepped up his fielding this year, as he became more than just a below average left fielder, showing up on the positive side of that spectrum. It's only a matter of time before he wins MVP, and right now he's baseball's biggest young star. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, if you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below new video ideas. With the baseball lockout, I really need more ideas, so if you guys could comment them down, I'd probably make them. This video was a bit on the longer side, so just let me know if you'd rather see more short videos or longer videos. Short videos are definitely easier to make, so I probably could dish them out more. And longer videos are harder to make, but I think the more quality. Sorry about the long break, I had some stuff to do, but I think I fixed up the schedule and I should be able to dish out more videos. So see you in the next one.